I'm excited to try these do-it-yourself craft foam stamps. I think they're going to make printing very easy. You can make your own stamps out of foam sheets. And the first stamp I'm going to try from craft foam is going to be a leaf and a little flower. So I'm going to draw my design on my craft foam with a pen. You could also do it with what's called a stylus if you have one from scrapbooking. But I'm going to do it with the pen so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to make it fairly close to life size. And I think it's a funny little shape, but I'm going to make it a little more jaggedy on the edges. And then some of the leaves kind of have like little bumps on the end. Then I'm going to make some lines in the center. And where I make these lines, that will not print. It's going to make an indentation in the foam, and I'm going to press pretty hard with my pen to make it kind of wide. It's not going to be able to touch that area, so you're going to see a white line down the center of my print. And there's a little line that goes out this direction, and right here, and see how I'm making them kind of deep. And then I'm going to cut this out on the outside line. I'm going to use a regular scissors for this, but it does sometimes help to use a small scissors. But this is my little thread scissors for sewing, and it will get into these little spots, which might be handy on some of the things that we're going to make. My Christmas cactus leaf stamp. I'm going to glue this to a second piece of craft foam just to make it a little thicker, and then I'm going to cut out again around the edges of this. But I don't need to be as particular. I can, because this is the part that's going to touch the paper, and this second piece just gives me a little more thickness. Now we can either glue this onto something like a jar lid, or spool, or I can just glue it to another piece of craft foam, and this piece of foam is what I will hold on to as I do the stamping. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't need to do any of this extra gluing to anything. I could use this stamp just the way it is, just cutting one layer. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry now, and then I can put ink on here and use this to stamp with. Now I'm going to make a flower petal, and I'm going to make some flowers at the end of my Christmas cactus. And I'm just going to make one petal and then use it to stamp more than once. So this petal is going to be about this big, and I am going to make a line down the center of it. That's going to make a little crease so that that line will show in my stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this to another piece of craft foam to make it twice as thick, and cut around that. And then I'm going to glue this one to the top of a spool. And glue that on like that. And then I'll be able to hold on to this spool and stamp like that. So I'm going to need to let that dry now. But now I'm going to make a card, and I cut my own paper. It's half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper, folded in half, and it fits into what's called an A2 envelope. They're often used for invitations, and you can get those in most craft stores. So I'm only going to print the front of this, and let's see how this goes. But there is my stamp, and it has been inked green. And I'm going to start down low here and press. Yeah, that's pretty good. And the Christmas cactus, these leaves kind of tuck one next to the other. So I'm just going to put that stamp next to the last one. And I might even make some that are a little bit lighter. Use the same ink twice. And the Christmas cactus kind of branches off, and this is working really well. Okay, so it branches off, like that. And then the flowers are typically on the tips of the leaves like this. Now we're going to try this petal, and it doesn't look exactly like the leaf of a Christmas cactus. I'm doing the best that I can, and I have to tell you this is an old ink pad, so I'm hoping it works. But it has a center. Oh, looky there, it works. It's getting a little bit of the blue ink pen ink on it, so that's not the best. And then it has these petals that kind of come out. I kind of like that two-tone though, isn't that kind of cool? But these petals kind of come out from that center, and we're not going to worry about being exact, but we're going to put 3 flowers on here. And my Christmas cactus is blooming right now. That's what made me think of doing this. And it's mixed up because right now when I'm filming this, it's early March. But I don't mind. I love seeing a Christmas cactus. Now, can you see where I pressed into the stamp with my ballpoint pen or my stylus? It's leaving a white area where I indented the foam. And it's doing the same here on these petals, which I think look really nice. Now, this is a very inexpensive way to do stamping. You could make lots of these, and I think they would last over and over again. Now, I'm very happy with that. I like how this is turning out. Okay, so this is going to fit inside of an envelope. I'm going to let it dry, but I'm going to use that as a card. Now, we could take a black Sharpie and we could go around the outside edges of the shapes if we would like, or another marker with other colors, but I'm going to leave mine just like it is and not put any black line on it at all. When I was on a walk a couple days ago, I found this bird's nest. It's been very windy here and blowing things from trees. But I'm going to use this in several craft posts, but I thought I might try making the edge of a bird's nest as a stamp and stamping it in a direction and then putting some little eggs in the center with a stamp. Let's see if we can do it. So I'm going to draw the edge of a bird's nest, and I'm not going to do the whole circle of the bird's nest. I'm just going to do a part of it, and then I'm going to use the stamp more than once. So then I'm going to make like an inside edge of the bird's nest. I'm going to make it try to look like there's little grasses that the bird has woven. So I'm trying to draw dark lines, which are deep grooves in the foam, hoping that this is going to make it look like there's little grass lines. So I made a little egg to go inside my nest. I'm going to make this nest go in a circle, use the stamp more than once, and then these little eggs will go in the center. So I'm hoping that's going to work well. But now I'm going to make a card. Let's give this bird's nest stamp a try. So I'm getting some brown ink on my bird's nest stamp, and I did not make a full circle, and you could if you wanted. I'm going to put my bird's nest right to the side here. Oh, let's see how it works. Well, it's not real dark. I needed a new stamp pad, but we're gonna, whoops, double this over. We might add a few little lines from a brown marker here in a minute to make it a little darker. Kind of doubling that up a little bit. There, that makes it a little darker looking. So we're looking down into the nest, and this is going to be eggs. And the only stamp color that I have that would be similar to an egg would be this blue. So I'm going to touch it on blue. And let's put a couple little eggs in here. Ooh, those are really dark. 1, 2, 3 little eggs in the nest. It's kind of fun. Now, I went ahead and made a stamp that is supposed to look like a leaf. So let's take our green and press it into the green and put some leaves around the nest. I pressed in some lines onto the stamp, and you can see those coming through on the leaves. I'm going to press all over, getting some green on my fingers. That one came out better. This bird has hidden its nest up in the tree, in the branches, so it's going to be kind of hidden with these leaves. But the bird isn't here. We could make a bird stamp if we wanted to. That would be fun. Overlapping the stamps a little bit to make it look like there's more leaves and foliage around. Just making some little lines that go on top of the stamp just to darken that up a little since our blue was so dark. You do not have to do this, but I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Those turned out nicely. So I've made a couple more stamps. These are just designs that I cut out. This looks kind of like a leaf or a paisley print, and this is just a circle, and I used some things to make a pattern, and then I also used a hole punch to punch out some of these holes in it to get a new design. But I cut out this piece of paper that is 5 by 7, and I'm going to use it in a frame. So I'm just going to use this to do a little stamping, and I'm going to use my green stamps that I had from before and this little petal here, and I'm going to use the green, the blue, and the pink. So I'm going to do this paisley print, or this teardrop shape, in blue. And I drew some lines on the front of it to make those little white lines that are going to come through, I hope. And I'm going to let some of these go off the edge of the paper, and I've put paper down here so that if it goes off the edge of the paper, it won't get on my countertop. Let's look. Ta-da! Ooh, I like that one. Maybe I'll do these in blue, and then I'm going to add some of the leaves in between in green. And maybe I'll choose to use some of the pink. I haven't decided yet. The ink is getting on my fingers, which might smudge on the paper, so I'm trying to be careful. This has a little bit of a sunshine look to it right here. And let's put some leaves in between. I think I'm going to use this one for my green leaf. That adds some nice contrast. And I'm going to be okay with them kind of overlapping a little bit. And if you use them 2 times in a row without re-stamping, without putting the ink on again, it'll get lighter the second time. Those kind of fit together well. This round part of this design that I'm doing now, the teardrop, kind of fits around that circle in kind of a cool way. So another leaf or 2, and I think then we'll be done. And I think it needs a little pop of that pink color, so let's try it. So we're going to add some of these little pink petals in between these areas. Yeah, I like that. Looks a little jungle-like. Don't want to overdo it, but I want to get it so that's all around. So you see they're kind of spread out like that. What do you think of that? We're going to let that dry, and then I'm going to put it into the frame. A couple more things I want to show you. You can use these pre-made foam forms to make your stamps. So this was a pre-cut butterfly, and here's a little hedgehog. I've pressed some designs into the butterfly so that would stamp nicely, although I didn't use them on these projects. Also, if you want to use your stamps again, it's a good idea to clean them off. So you can put them on a damp paper towel and kind of wipe them off, get the extra ink off of them. And you can also use a little tiny bit of Windex on them, and that helps. I have done that in the past. It's probably a good idea to use the same colors on these again in the future. I think that this blue would leak out into other colors if you use this on another ink pad. But these stamps can be used over and over again. I thought it would be fun to put this into a frame. So I have cut this to size for a 5 by 7 inch frame, and I'm going to slip it in here. That's the right size. And slip it into the frame with the piece of cardboard for padding. And there we have our print in a frame, which looks so nice. Now we have our cards, our 2 cards, and our framed print. This awesome do-it-yourself craft foam stamps for easy printing has really turned out well. If you're wanting more ideas for crafts, come on over to welcometonana's.com and join the fun.